Hello and welcome everyone. We have with us today two icons of Indian sports. Pullela Gopichand, Guru Dronacharya of Indian badminton, who has made India a household name in the badminton world and also made badminton among the most followed sports in India. The All England badminton champion of 2001, and with him is the queen of badminton and Gopi's Shishya PV Sindhu. Welcome Gopi and Sindhu to Times Digital. It's an honor to have you with us. So Gopi, with so many world-class players coming out of your academy, how do you devote time for them? Why I'm asking is, I'm sure they all crave for your personal attention and time. How do you manage that?
In fact, the earlier years we had a challenge with not many players coming up, and people would ask me how it is that you have one player and when is the next player coming up. So we had that initial questions come up with Saina and then Sindhu, and then the players followed. So it's good to answer this question today because it shows the depth of Indian badminton, and it also shows the depth of the work which has been done over the years. Overall, the group in the work, and the work which we do together actually is very good because the sessions are very high quality, and the kind of atmosphere and the kind of structure and the kind of environment which is there is what inspires each one of the players. They are drawing inspiration from each other.
So coming back to craving for individual time, do you get complaints?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I would be unfair to say that, but priorities are there. Like for every international event of status, I've always spent time with the players who are representing. Like before the Rio, Sindhu and Shrikant were the sole focus, and post that today when we look at it, the players who need my time the most, or who are in the cusp of if they get a little attention they would win a bigger tournament, is who get the best attention. So what has happened is, when I started coaching, I started at 6 o'clock and then got 5, and then with Sindhu it got at 4:30. So things, just the days kept getting longer as the players started becoming more and more.
Fantastic. This is something which a lot of people have been talking about. This is to both Sindhu and you, about the cramped international calendar. You have to worry about so many things, about recovery, remaining injury free, diet, everything that in rest. How do you manage that? Sindhu, I'll ask you this first. Do you find it too demanding?
I mean, yeah, of course, we have so many tournaments, so I mean, we can't actually complain, but I think we have to decide and we have to plan it out accordingly which tournament to play, because every tournament you go into, you just have to give your 100%. So you just can't play all the tournaments, but you have to pick and choose. So for that, definitely yes. For me, I sit with Gopi sir and plan it out accordingly and pick and choose some tournaments which are important. So that is how I manage it. But I think it's every individual's thinking like which tournaments to play and what to play. So
what is it that you keep in mind, Gopi, when you decide, okay, Sindhu should play in this one and not the other one?
Well, the fact is that these are challenges which have come up of late, and it's been a changing world. Earlier times we used to have 6 months off season and 6 months playing. That was way back in the 80s. Then there was a period when we would have reasonable amount of time. Maybe every 2 months we would have a circuit, and then the last years things got a little more cramped. But today you have a calendar which is spanning all through, and also mandatory tournaments, and especially this year, especially for us who play the Commonwealth and the Asian Games, it's almost like 4 extra tournaments, because Commonwealth team and individuals and Asian Games team and individuals. So it just puts so much more pressure on our players. So one, we don't have a choice of complaining. It's important that we move on. So it's very important that players remain physically and mentally fit all the time, and so it's very important that you forget your losses very quickly. You kind of are confident all the time no matter what, and you will have off days, but it doesn't mean that it should dent your confidence. That's one of the big things. And it's important that they take care of their diet very well. It's important that they take care of their mental aspects very well, and ensure that they're able to get their training done all the days, whether they are in tournament or whether they are in training back home.
Sindhu, coming to your 2017, I think it's been a memorable year. 2 Super Series wins?
Yeah.
And World Championship finals and World Super Series Dubai finals. How does it feel to lose such close finals? What goes through your mind at that time?
Well, you know, in the World Championships, that was one of the longest matches so far. So when I was playing that match, I mean, definitely I would give my 100%. It was also a World Championship final, and when I was just playing, I thought, okay, fine, I have to give my best. But at the end, you know, losing so close match, like 20-20, it is anybody's game. So I just thought it was not my day, and I was not just lucky. But I didn't have any regrets, because it was not something that I haven't tried. But I've tried my best and I gave my best. So at the end of the day, 1 lose and 1 win. So I mean, I felt a bit bad, but I think taking positive things from that match, I just moved forward, and now comes the Dubai Super Series finals at the end. So it was almost like a World Championship. Yeah. So I was a bit emotional in the in the last. But I think, you know, normally you win some, you lose some. So there were also matches where I won. You know, I was really close. I won matches that way, and I lose matches that way. So it's just that I have to just be positive and come back much more stronger.
Gopi, there have been instances where people have said about, you know, she's lost 2 very close finals. What is your analysis of this reading?
Well, I think from the outside, maybe they might be similar in nature, but the fact is that if at the end of the tournament, like a Super Series finals, where she's beaten Akane in the group stage, where she's also beaten players like Sayaka Sato, Hibin Zhao, and Chen Yufei in there. So when you do win those 4 matches and you lose 1 match, it will be very not wise in a way, for us at least in the team, to remember the 1 loss and forget the 4 wins. So it's important that we pick those matches and remember those matches consciously, which give us the confidence, because it's very easy to get negative with the 1 loss rather than the 4 wins which happened in the same week.
Right.
So I think it's a very important aspect of the mindset which is there, is to be able to focus and put your light on, and you want to put that on the 1 loss or you want to put that on the 4 wins. So for me, it's very important that we put it on the positives and not really focus on that loss. Yes, there are lessons to be learned, and there are mistakes which can be rectified.
Which are those mistakes? Can you identify a few things, or it's all about training?
When you look at the match, I think a lot of them would look at it as similar, but the way she fought and the way she was, because she was fighting from game 1.
She was not well also.
Physically she wasn't there, but she was fighting for 1 game. So I don't think many athletes would fight a full 1 hour, because it was like a 94-minute match, and then I don't think many athletes would fight that almost like 1 hour running on reserve fuel in a way, because she was tired in the initial parts of the second game itself, and then she kept pushing and pushing and getting on, and that's an amazing quality which she had, and she was very positive about it. She changed game plans quite a few times in the tournament. So yes, I think people can see the final and see similarities, but I see there's been a huge improvement from when the World Championships happened to when the Super Series finals happened.
Sindhu, among all the opponents you have faced so far, who do you think has left you most impressed of all the people you played?
Well, I just can't say one in particular, because you know, in this season I think I've almost played with everybody, so all the top players, and I mean, everybody has a different style of play. So maybe, yeah, in everyone there is a different style. Like for example, Taizuing has very deceptive strokes, and you know, even Ratchanok, and when it comes to Okuhara and Yamaguchi, it's like long rallies and stuff. So you know, each player has different different strategy, different style of play. So I mean, everybody it's not the same way that they play, but I just can't say one in particular. But with everybody, it's different type of game, I can say.
So of course you won't pick a favorite, but who is the person who you have idolized as you grew up playing?
I think Gopi sir, because when normally when I started playing, I have seen one of his matches, and then that's how I slowly picked up, and then I joined Gopichan Academy, and then sir being my coach since then.
How old were you then?
Since 10, yeah.
10. So 13 years now. 13 years, right? 12, 13 years now. Gopi, this is not for Sindhu. During the year, you have had Kidambi, Pranoy, Sai Praneeth, even Saina World Cup bronze. How do you see this year, and how do you see the next year now, after all this?
It's been a great year, I think. I couldn't have asked for better in a lot of ways. Because coming back from an Olympic medal year, to say that this year was better than the previous year is a big statement to make. And the fact that the positive news for badminton has come so often this year is something to be proud of. To have two Indians play the finals of the men's Super Series finals, and to have multiple players doing well in the men and the women's circuit, along with the doubles players also, I think is great for Indian badminton. So very happy about it. Every year in the last 10 years or so has been better than the previous year. So I just hope that continues, and it will be very good to see how 2018 progress.
Fantastic, all the best. Sindhu, coming to your life after you attained, so much success and what people call stardom, how has life changed after that?
Well, life has changed a lot, especially after Olympics, I can say. Because before Olympics it was totally different, and after Olympics, in any way when I go out, or in India or outside India also, there were many people actually recognizing and coming to me for autographs and photographs. That really feels happy being in the limelight. I'm actually enjoying it, because when I was really young, when you see someone who's in the limelight, you also want to be there someday, but once you're there, I think you have to enjoy it, which I'm doing it right now.
And what about lifestyle changes, diet, travel, expectations that people have from you? All those things also come to play, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because when we talk about responsibilities and expectations now, it's a lot more, because people expect a lot from you. So every time you go for a tournament, people want you to win all the matches, and which is not always possible. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. But I think definitely responsibilities are high. Expectations are always high, and to keep up that, I think you need to work a lot more harder. And definitely when it comes to traveling, it's been hectic now, traveling here and there, and where diet also is very important, one of the main aspects, because you need to be very careful about your diet, because that really connects with everything. Because when you're on court, or when it comes to diet, you need to be very much particular, not much of oily food and not much of sweets and stuff. So because it really affects your game, I feel.
He's difficult with that, no, with sweets and all. Let's come to again, Sindhu, about your struggles in life. Dad was a sports person and Arjuna awardee. Mom was also a sports person. So that way you probably had the right genes. But was life easy?
Well, definitely there were many struggles, I can say, but my parents supported me a lot in one way. Whenever I wanted anything, or since young, wherever I wanted to go, or whatever I wanted, even in practice sessions or wherever it is, because it was really very tough to travel for me when I was really young, because we used to almost travel like 47 kilometers going and coming, and then in the evening. So, but then later on, I think it's just the hard work of my parents and the sacrifices made by them. I'm really very lucky to
47 kilometers one way?
Yeah.
So, and twice a day?
27 going, 27 coming.
Okay, alright.
In the evening again, 27 coming.
That's a lot of 100 kilometers of travel a day.
Almost 120 kilometers.
Every day. Okay. So, Gopi, apart from Sindhu, which other current and upcoming players you feel have the potential to replicate the success you managed with her and a few others?
Well, if I name some, I'll definitely miss some. So
Okay.
for that risk, I don't want to name any. But having said that, there is huge potential across. What we need to ensure is there is a systematic approach which we need to take, because that will be the key to producing more players in the future. We need a system which actually grooms these players up. When I was younger, I was lucky, these players were lucky that I could spend a lot more time with them growing up and traveling with them. And we need good coaches to ensure that it happens with all the players who are coming up, and that will be one of the biggest challenges what we have.
And when you look at the changes, you think the quality of training has undergone a change with the sports science inputs, dietitians, and so many other things. Some of the things which we also discussed in our Olympic Task Force recommendations.
Well, I think there's a lot more which needs to be done. Basic stuffs are taken care of, and really thanks to the government of India for the majority of the effort which they put in. But in fact, a lot more sustained systemic effort is what is needed. I think for one, when we look at the entire ecosystem of sport, yes, there is a certain amount of stability in the top players travel. Being taken care of from that aspect, but what happens to players who don't make it? What happens to players who are on their journey upwards and who are struggling? What happens when Sindhu was there's a Sindhu who's 10 years old and their parents are driving them 100 kilometers a day. So what happens to them? So what is the kind of input they are reaching? What is the kind of food they're getting? All of these things aren't systematic. There's a lot of effort which is being done today by a lot of NGOs, maybe the associations, maybe schools, parents, but there's no cohesive unit working in the country. So I think it's very important for us to put up a system in place which kind of identifies, nurtures talent, and also takes care of talent which doesn't make it, because all of it is part of the same system, and if we leave out one, we'll be missing out definitely an important part.
Do you see this change happening, because it's a part of our recommendations also, but you see it happening, or what is your...
Well, there is certainly hope. There is understanding with the highest authority in the country, the Prime Minister, talking about it and also showing his intent that he wants to do it. And today with somebody like the Sports Minister being himself a medalist at the Olympics, I think this is our best chance to make it. And I can only hope that I hope that this happens now, because if it doesn't happen now, I don't see it happening ever.
Okay. Sindhu, looking at you, as we discussed, you have had to play so many tournaments, and it's only gonna get worse next year because of the Commonwealth Games and the Asian Games as well. When you have your personal time, how do you spend the time? Movies, music?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time nowadays when I actually have rest time, that is where I'm doing traveling, because when I'm in practice sessions, I don't really go out for some events or stuff. But when I'm having the rest days, I actually compensate time. But apart from that, maybe just stay at home and rest, because we just get some time of rest. So maybe relax at home and spend time with family.
Do you go out to watch a movie?
Yeah, at times.
What happens when you go out to watch a movie? Is it easy to watch a movie?
Well, it's not really easy, but actually when the movie starts, the lights are anyways off. We just go and sit in. Immediately the movie gets over, we immediately just go out and go away.
Okay. And if you watch movies, who's your favorite actor?
In Telugu it is Mahesh and Prabhas. In Bollywood it is Ranveer and Ranbir Kapoor and Deepika.
Okay.
And Anushka Sharma.
Which other sports do you follow?
Tennis at times. But not really, because there's actually no time to just look into television.
So if you were not a badminton player, what would you have become? Since 10 you have been playing badminton, so it's a wrong question perhaps, but...
I mean, yeah, when you're young, you would have a lot more selections that you want to, but yeah, when I was actually playing and really young, I thought I would become a doctor, but now I think badminton is much better than.
Do you want to talk once again about the role of your parents in your life?
Yeah, I think my parents played a very important role. When I started playing initially, it was tough, but then they had many sacrifices because as they were working, and both my parents used to work in railways, and now because of me, they've given VRS and to take care of me. My mom actually, when we shifted nearby to the academy, we had to shift nearby to the academy because so I would get proper rest and food, because when I go home, my mom is ready with the food preparations and everything. And recently my dad also took a VRS so that they keep traveling with me wherever I go, and I think they've done a lot of sacrifices for me. And before, when we shifted nearby to the academy, for them it was really very far to go to the office. So I think they play a very important role, and I'm very thankful to them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gopi and Sindhu.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here.
Pleasure.
An honor to have both of you here, and keep doing India proud. Thank you so much.